Okay, I did my lesson focused towards second grade, and I titled it Understanding Peer Pressure. The essential standard for this was understanding the relationship among healthy expression of emotion, mental health, and healthy behaviors. The clarifying objective for this was explaining the influence that peers, the media, and family have on feelings and emotions. I chose this because so many kids are faced with peer pressure, and as the kids get older, they're going to be faced with it even more. And it's going to be bigger stuff too. So they need to be introduced at a young age, and I think second grade is a great place to start with that. So I want the kids to really get from this lesson what positive peer pressure is, what negative peer pressure is, and how to respond when faced with either of the two. So to start this lesson plan, the kids are going to do a poll everywhere, and the teacher's not going to talk much before giving them the poll. She's just going to put it up, and they're going to use their classroom iPad, which has a texting app on it just for classroom purposes, and they're going to text in their answer to the three questions. The three questions consist of what is peer pressure, have you ever been peer pressured, or have you ever peer pressured somebody else? The teacher will then use this as a gauge to see what the kids already know. Do they know what peer pressure is? Did most of them answer correct to that question? Or do they need to talk about it a little more? Have any of them ever been peer pressured, or have they peer pressured somebody else? So this will be a really good eye opener for her to see what she needs to do going forward. Does she need to talk more in depth about it, or can she kind of back off a little bit because they already know? After that, she's going to show a Finding Nemo clip that I found on YouTube, and it's about Nemo and his buddies, and they were seeing who could go farther out in the ocean, and Nemo ended up going the farthest, and that's when he got caught by the fishermen. Watching this shocked me because I didn't realize that Nemo gave in, that due to giving into peer pressure, that's why Nemo got caught. So I learned something from that short video clip too. After showing the kids that, she'll talk to them a little more about peer pressure, and then she's going to start the first activity, which is going to be reading aloud Stephanie's Ponytail. In Stephanie's Ponytail, we got to hear earlier this semester from Miss Adams, but for the people who don't know, it's about this little girl who has all these crazy hairstyles, and she comes to school and she gets made fun of, but then the next day the kids come to school with the same hairstyle that they made fun of her for. And then at the very end, she tells all the kids that she's going to come to school with her head shaved. And the next day she comes to school and they all have their head shaved, even the teacher, but she did not shave her head. She still had her funny looking ponytail on top of her head. So it's a really cute story, but it's also eye-opening for the kids. The teacher's then going to give them a piece of construction paper. On the construction paper, she's going to ask them, in this story, they're going to have one question they have to answer, and it's going to be, in this story, who gave into peer pressure? So they're going to write that on the top or the bottom of the piece of construction paper, and then they're going to use the leftover piece of construction paper to draw a picture demonstrating when peer pressure took place in the story. The teacher will then take those up so she can see if the kids are catching on or if they need to spend a little more time. She's going to see if the kids drew the right picture that actually showed when they gave into peer pressure, or does she need to spend a little more time explaining what peer pressure looks like? After that, she's going to break the kids up into 3 different groups, Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. Group 1 will be demonstrating what positive peer pressure looks like by putting on a skit. They'll get to use the classroom dress up box and all that fun stuff and really go all out with the skit. They'll get to use props if they find them or whatever, and they'll get to act out everybody in the group explaining what it looks like, and then they'll get to show the kids, the rest of their classmates at the end. Group 2 will be doing a comic strip, and I found this really cool website where kids can create comic strips called Storyboard That, and I got to play around with it a little bit when creating my lesson plan, and the kids get to pick their background, and they get to pick their characters, and they can change all the colors, and so it's a lot of fun. And this group will be demonstrating what negative peer pressure looks like. Each student will do their own comic strip, but they'll be in their own little group. They'll use the classroom iPads to do this. Then Group 3, which I focus towards the AIG students, will be doing a iMovie. And in the iMovies, they'll be using one classroom iPad, and I have an example of it online. It looks like this, and right here says Create Project. And what they'll do is they'll hit that, and they will take all these pictures and videos that they have done and they'll place them together, and so they make this awesome movie. I chose this for the AIG students because I do think that it is more challenging than the other two activities that the other groups are doing. They're going to have to make sure that they work together as a team to piece all these videos and pictures together so their movie plays out the way it's supposed to. And their scenario that I'm giving them is a little more challenging. They're going to have to show how to respond to peer pressure. So it's not going to be just showing what negative or positive peer pressure looks like. They're going to have to pick one of the two and then show how do you respond. What's your decision-making process? Do you respond yes or do you respond no? Is it because of your values, your beliefs, your gut feeling, or because it's right or wrong? What played into your decision? So once the kids are all done with their groups, which they'll have about 45 minutes to do, give or take a few minutes, they will come back to their seat and they will all get to watch each group's final project. Group one will come up and they'll get to show all the kids what positive peer pressure looks like by acting out their skit. Then group two will come up and the teacher will have their comic strips on the smartboard and they will get to explain what happened in their comic strip and how did it show negative peer pressure. Then group three will actually stay at their desk, but the teacher will have their iMovie on the smartboard and they will be able to sit with the rest of their classmates and watch their finished movie play for the whole classroom. And it'll be really fun for them because, it's each group's got a big process to show and they've worked really hard, but then they'll get to see it at the end of the lesson. I think this lesson is a lot of fun because it is very rewarding. The kids get to work together and they work hard, but then they get to sit down and watch it with all their classmates and get to show their classmates what they created and how awesome it is. I really enjoyed doing this lesson and I learned a lot from it. I learned that lesson planning is not as easy as I thought it would be. I had this crazy idea in my head, but I had to make sure that I was doing the right thing to make it work. I actually sent it to one of my friends because I wanted her to read over it and I wanted her to tell me if it made sense to her. And there was one part that she, sent back and she was like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I added a few more details in and sent it back to her and she was like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So after doing that, I learned that there's details that you don't even realize you have to put into lesson plans. But, getting that second opinion really helped too. But that was the biggest thing that I learned was there's so much that goes into making a lesson plan that you don't even realize. It's not just typing it out and it working. You've got to make sure you have all those little details so that it works the way it's supposed to. I think this is going to be very beneficial going towards, in the future as we finish the rest of our time in school and then even as we become teachers because now we know what lesson plans look like. But we also know what all goes into making them and how many things, what little things you have to do to make them work. So I think that's the biggest thing that I learned and the most beneficial thing that I learned. But I think this was a lot of fun and it is definitely something that I would use in my own classroom because I think it's something that the kids would love, but it's also something that is very important for kids to know and to learn about. So I had a blast and I'm definitely going to keep this on file and hopefully one day I'll get to use it in my own classroom. Thank you.